Super Mario Bros. Is a test of patience. While it may seem like a simple game on the surface, the more you progress, the more intricate, the more difficult the levels become. It's by design. If you're familiar with the ins and outs of the game on a surface level, you'll notice things like 6-4 being a harder version of 1-4. Then once you explore the iceberg deeper, you'll find things like the minus world glitch, walk through walls, and small fire Mario, just to name a few. Of course, beyond that is beyond my understanding and pay grade, but I am fascinated with such a simple yet deceptively complex game. Cliché lines aside, there's a lot of fun to the game when trying to do things out of the ordinary. And this is why I like its variations like vs. Super Mario Bros., which is like the perfected Super Saiyan of the series, and then Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, which is basically the Super Saiyan 2 of the series. Even if you don't get the Dragon Ball analogies, the numbers don't lie, and there's so much fun and mystery to be had in the original game. Surely the spin-offs and sequels have just as much there. I contemplated this when we made shorts and other videos for the channel. I'm fascinated with vs. Super Mario Bros. And Lost Levels because I'm not completely familiar with them. And with vs. Super Mario Bros., the arcade version of the original, I just thought it was a simple port of the original game. But boy was I wrong. It's got lots of tough levels they added in, and on top of that, some say it's even harder than Lost Levels because the physics are more or less the same as the original Mario game. That means less high bounces, which means harder to clear gaps. But this also means that some of the same glitches exist, like the double jump when grabbing mushrooms. One other glitch immediately came to mind, and that was the minus world. The minus world might just be the most famous of all the Mario glitches. Its execution isn't simple, but the result is. Jump through the pipe using the collision detection from these bricks up here. Slide through and enter the pipe before the game recognizes you're in the warp zone. Successful attempts will land you in world -1. Apparently it's 36-1, but the game doesn't render the number properly. What you're really seeing is world 7-2, but the problem comes at the end of the level. The end warp pipe has no location data, so that means it just drops you back at the beginning of the level, leaving you trapped in the depths until time runs out. So naturally, I was curious. Is this possible to pull off in vs. Super Mario Bros.? I went to go try myself, and I was greeted with a most unwelcome surprise. The two top blocks had been removed. Nintendo had been shifting, were aware of what conspired on the cartridges of millions of people around the world, and they didn't leave anything up to chance. Understandably so, but it leaves us unable to get to the warp zone. Or does it? I searched far and wide online, and actually, it is possible to get to -1. There was one video I found, one person who did things legit. IsoFrieze, apologies if we're not saying that right, put up a video on January 6th, 2023 showing that they had managed to get to the warp zone totally legit. No cheat codes, no clips through the pipes and wall jumps, this was it. The problem is, unless you're really into Super Mario Bros. And know how deep the details of things work, this video is not going to make any sense to you, as it didn't to me at first. If you pay attention to the video, you'll notice that Mario moves further and further right to the edge of the screen, which isn't normally how the game works. This is why they're able to go to the warp zone normally, but the camera hasn't caught up yet, ergo the warp zone doesn't load. I did this in my own attempts. I tried to jump backwards, I tried to shift the screen, but no matter what I did, it just wasn't working. Something wasn't happening. But there were some things I did notice. Number 1. Moving left is basically a death sentence. Moving Mario back towards the left meant that there was a chance the screen could move forward without Mario going in that direction, which is a big no-no. Remember, we have to get Mario to the furthest right point of the screen, so by going left, we reduce the chances we have of getting all the way to the right. Number 2, being hit meant it was all over. If you get hit, most of the time, the screen is going to reposition itself to center on Mario. And there are some cases where this didn't happen, yes, but it's better to be safe than sorry. And number 3, sliding under the blocks was harder than I thought. There's this section here in World 1-2 where you could basically crouch under the blocks, and if you're in the right place, Mario will slide through and won't move the screen. However, pulling this off, there are 2 issues. 1 is that there are enemies on the other side, and 2, if Mario is a bit too far to the left, he'll just be pushed back out. And so with these things in mind, I kept trying. I was so close on a couple of occasions, but I just couldn't figure it out. I couldn't get over the edge. I had a few moments where I was hitting blocks and it moved Mario forward and the screen was staying still, but I just wasn't sure exactly what caused this. After doing about an hour of tests, I was beat. What was I missing? How did this person pull it off? I resorted to the internet, and after digging for a bit and typing in specific questions that didn't lead anywhere, I eventually found a few pages on TAS speedruns. Within these pages, I found the keys that were missing this entire time. If Mario bumps into the left edge of an obstacle, a wall, pipe, coin block, etc., while jumping, the screen scrolling will momentarily stop, even if Mario continues to move to the right. Since Mario accelerates faster in the direction he isn't facing, you should use this trick while jumping backwards, with Mario facing left. And there it was. The answer to my prayers. This was it. That's why IsoFrieze was jumping between the pillars in that video. It's because they were using them to basically stop the screen from scrolling. And it wasn't just the pillars, but the pipes too. Finally, it had all made sense. I immediately set out to try again, but the game wouldn't go down without a fight. I had to keep restarting over and over again to get myself in the right positions. I could feel myself getting closer and closer. I even took a hit and reverted to small Mario, but I wasn't ready to give up. The screen hadn't shifted after all, so I was still in the game and there were still pipes for me to jump against. Timing jumps carefully, I managed to get Mario a fair bit to the right. I just had to time the remaining jumps, hop over the missing blocks, and then trot my way to the finish line. If I was too antsy, there was a chance that I could accidentally load in the warp zone screen, and my efforts would have been all in vain. I was cautious but optimistic. I dropped onto the far right pipe, took a deep breath, and went down. It was finally over. I had made it to the promised land, but really it was just what you would expect. It's an underwater looping level, but actually it's much shorter than the original games, and that's because the section isn't taken from a full level, it's actually taken from the underwater section of World 6-2. But this was definitely a case of it's all about the journey and not the destination. I pushed my Mario abilities to the test, I learned a few things along the way, and I even managed to get to the famous Minus World even after the game devs tried to stop me. Thanks everyone so much for watching this video, we really hope you enjoy it. Until the next one, take care.